Hey everyone, Seeker of the Lost here. Before we start the video, I just want to give a huge shout out to Brayden for having me on the channel. Now sit back and enjoy the video. Nickelodeon Addicting Games Showdown. This began in 2009 as an event that was planned to take place annually, but only ended up happening twice. It would air in between the typical Nickelodeon shows at the time. Users would go onto the addictinggames.com website and pick games from the website to win awards, such as Most Addicting Game. The wiki even says that the website was actually even bought out by Nickelodeon specifically for this event, which we were unable to verify. While addictinggames.com does still exist today, they've at least upgraded their branding from the Comic Sans font that they used to use. Unfortunately, many of the segments from 2009 and almost all material from 2010 is lost.
Doritos Crash Course 2. In 2010, a game was released for the Xbox 360 called Doritos Crash Course. In that game, players were tasked with completing obstacle courses within a time limit. In 2013, the sequel was released with online functionality, as well as 4-player local multiplayer. While the games were similar, the sequel was much more integrated with the online service, making it impossible to play without an internet connection. Predictably, the game became unplayable after being removed from the Xbox Live Arcade, meaning the game was only available for slightly longer than a year. Any content past the menus is completely lost.
Three Busy Debras. This comedy series premiered on Adult Swim in 2020 to complete its run after only 6 episodes. It features the typical tropes of 3 well-off housewives and the satires of suburban life that come with those tropes. Set in the fictional town of Lemon Curd, Connecticut, all 3 of the protagonists are named Deborah, hence the name of the show, which is definitely not the first time that Cartoon Network has done something like that. While the pilot was ordered in 2018, it took almost 2 entire years for the show to premiere, and when it did, the pilot was nowhere to be found. Still today, the pilot is lost and no materials have surfaced from it.
Doraemon Nobita no Doki Doki. It's pretty common to see lost media pop up every now and then from the Doraemon franchise. Quite a bit of television media from this franchise is lost after all. What's perhaps less known is this game, which is a lost Virtual Boy game featuring the titular character. I've discussed lost Virtual Boy games on my channel before, but this is one of the only ones that features a pre-established character from non-Nintendo media. The game looked to be a cross between some 2D platform segments and some 3D on-rails roller coaster segments, which took more advantage of the Virtual Boy's capabilities. As well as this, there was expected to be 5 playable characters with unique attributes, which, given the Virtual Boy's hardware, was rather ambitious. Predictably, the game was cancelled due to the Virtual Boy's failure. All that survived is a collection of screenshots.
Darkspore. This action RPG was a sequel to the 2008 game entitled Spore. While Spore had a more fantastical and cartoon-like art style, Darkspore was more dark, gritty, and realistic in its art style. The game was a multiplayer game that had single-player aspects as well, and this would actually cause a bit of controversy among fans. This was because due to the way that the game was set up, you needed an internet connection even if you didn't access any of the multiplayer aspects. In 2016, this became quite a problem as EA shut the servers down, making the game impossible to play. While there have been attempts to make the game playable again, the most anyone has been able to do has been to make the character creator accessible.
Dreaming Machine. Dreaming Machine was to be a film released sometime in the early 2010s. The creator Satoshi Kon described it as a fantasy adventure targeted at younger audiences. As well as this, the movie was reported to have no human characters, only robots. Just from that, I'm reminded of the 2005 film called, well, Robots. Very few details besides what has been outright stated by the creator are known. Unfortunately, the film never released because of the creator's death in 2010, and while production resumed, no one could quite duplicate what he brought to the table, resulting in the project's cancellation. All that's surfaced has been a few stills and some concept material.
Hey guys, I'm Ian.
And I'm Anthony.
Turns out that we had a lot of really messed up stuff in the movie that didn't quite make it into the cut.
So here's some deleted scenes.
Smosh the Movie R-rated cut. While Smosh is known as one of the largest comedy duos on the internet, the movie that they made is generally regarded as terrible. However, what's less known is that the version of the film viewers saw wasn't what was originally planned. Originally, the film had much more foul language and sexual innuendos, garnering an R rating. But due to the production company not believing the film could be profitable in that state, many edits were made to the film, bringing its rating down to PG-13. While some of these cuts made their way onto the DVD release, it is widely believed that some did not, and because it's unknown how many edits there exactly were, it's unknown how many of them are lost.
Da Vinci's Medusa. Everyone knows Leonardo da Vinci. He's one of the most influential artists, scientists, philosophers of all time. But that doesn't mean all of his work has survived, of course. Medusa is one of those works of art. Being mentioned in a 1568 biography, as well as being documented in the Uffizi by a biographer in 1782, it's likely the painting the biographer thought was Leonardo's Medusa was by someone else. Complicating this even more, it's theorized that Caravaggio's painting entitled Medusa is actually a copy of Leonardo da Vinci's original Medusa. Needless to say, if it ever existed, which it most likely did, the original painting is lost.
Let's do this!
Welcome to Hip Hop Squares! Oh! Well done! No doubt by the end of the night, got their clothes coming off, then I make that move. Somehow, some way, gotta raise the roof.
Hip Hop Squares, Tuesdays at 11, only on MTV2.
Hip Hop Squares. This was a reimagined version of the popular 20th century game show Hollywood Squares. It essentially has the same gameplay, with celebrities, this time specifically hip-hop ones, answering trivia questions to which contestants must agree or disagree. There were slight changes to the format, but generally this game show is just a copy-pasted version of Hollywood Squares. During its existence, it aired for nearly 7 months in 2012, and despite the high ratings for an MTV2 show, it was put on hiatus with a rebooted version later airing on VH1 and lasting longer than the original. While most of the VH1 episodes are accessible, episodes from the 2012 run are mostly lost.
#21. In this game show, there were two contestants, the returning champion and the challenger, who would enter booths and put on pairs of headphones, taking turns being able to hear the host, and answering trivia questions. The goal of the game was to reach 21 points, and the point value of questions was determined by difficulty, with harder questions being worth more points. The game only stopped prior to 5 rounds if one contestant wanted that to happen, at which point the contestant that asked to stop the game would automatically lose. Winners won $500 per point of margin over their opponent. One contestant, who kept winning more than the production crew and corporate sponsor liked, had a game rigged against him, resulting in a cheating scandal, with the show being cancelled not long after. If you're interested in learning more about the scandal, I suggest watching the movie Quiz Show, which is based on it. It's an excellent movie. But back to the actual game show itself, it had a rather tragic history after the scandal. The two creators didn't work together again until almost 20 years after 21's cancellation. and due to the common network tape wiping practices at the time, a majority of the episodes are lost.